Happy Friday, everybody. We are on chapter 7 in our book, My Life as Alien Monster Bait. And the chapter is called And Action. All right, everybody, settle in, please. This is the take. Places, people, places. A little man with a big megaphone and an even bigger mouth marched back and forth between the cameras, shouting at everyone. This is an expensive shot, so let's get it right on the first take. Heads up. Everybody look alive. I couldn't believe it. It had finally come. My big moment. It was Monday morning, a week later. It had taken a whole week to get Gertrude repaired. And here we were about to film my famous scene. I stood with two other actor kids, a guy and a girl, on the make-believe corner of the make-believe street in front of a make-believe billboard. Gertrude had been rolled in behind the billboard out of sight. Chad and Laura, who looked about 20 years older in person, sat in an idling convertible about 100 feet away. We were all set. If everything went right, the scene would go like this. There would be a big flash of light behind the billboard. That would be the Martian spaceship landing. Next, Gertrude would crash through the sign and grab me in her mouth. I would scream as the other kids ran off. Gertrude would grab me in her mouth, start to raise me in the air, and then, at the last minute, Chad would race to my rescue in his fancy convertible. Couldn't be simpler, the director assured us. If everything goes right, we'll have you out of here by noon. Noon of what day? A boy smirked. Of what month? The girl actor smirked. Both of the actors were from Hollywood, which probably explains the smirking. The guy was a big star in a big TV sitcom a couple of years back. But that was a couple of years back, so no one knew who he was anymore. And the girl? She was somebody's niece. An hour earlier, I had been yanked out of the limo by the makeup and wardrobe man and woman, I still didn't know which was which took exactly 2 steps before the director spotted us and shouted, "What did you do with his hair?" This guy must have been nervous. "You said you wanted a punker," the first man or woman explained. "That was Saturday before last," the director cried. "Today, punk is out. Geek is in." "Of course, Bernie. Anything you say, Bernie," the second man or woman apologized. "Until I know what kind of movie I'm making, I expect you to be flexible." "Our mistake, Bernie," the first man or woman said. "We should have known better." They rushed me back to the trailer, muttering a few of their own words at the director. "What does he mean he doesn't know what type of movie he's making?" I asked. "The poor slob hasn't found the theme," the first man or woman answered. "He has no vision for the film, no handle, no statement. Not yet, anyway." "Well, when will he?" I asked. "Soon," the second man or woman sighed. "We hope very, very soon." After an hour of trying on wigs, smearing makeup all over my rub-on tattoos to cover them, and putting me back in my regular clothes, I suddenly looked like, well, after all that hard work, I wound up looking exactly like me. Amazing. No wonder these people make so much money. So there I was, Wally McDougal, all-American geek, standing on the corner playing Wally McDougal, all-American geek. "Stand by," the voice shouted through the megaphone. This was it. All the days of preparation, all the hassles of school, at home, with my friends, it all came down to this moment of glory. In a matter of seconds, I would be immortalized forever. I took a deep breath. I'd been practicing my scream for days. I had it down pat. True, I'd been getting a little hoarse lately, but that was okay. One healthy scream is all it would take. Everybody waited. Gertrude as the monster behind the billboard, Chad and Laura as the heroes in the convertible, and me, Wally McDougal, as the monster bait. "Sound?" the megaphone man shouted. "Speed," someone called back. "Camera?" "Rolling," a man behind the camera yelled. "Slate it." Another guy with a little blackboard cut in half raced in and shouted, "58C, take 1. He slapped the 2 pieces of wood together with a loud clap, then disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. "And action," the director yelled. It was now or never. I took a deep breath and let out the world's longest and loudest scream. It was unbelievable. I mean, if they had Olympic events for screaming, I would have picked up the bronze, the silver, and the gold medals. Ah! I was amazing. I was incredible. I was about to pass out when suddenly the director screamed, "Cut!" I looked around, grinning and pretty pleased with myself, until the director stomped up to me and roared into my face, "What do you think you're doing? You don't scream until I say you scream, and it have to say action." "Oh," I sort of squeaked. "Sorry. And the monster has to break through the billboard." I know I could have had better comebacks, but when a man is throwing those kind of words right in your face, it's pretty hard to think of anything too witty. Besides, he had a point. I wasn't supposed to scream until after Gertrude broke through the billboard. "Okay," the director shouted as he turned and headed back behind the camera. "Let's get it right this time." "Okay," the little man with the big megaphone shouted. "Let's get it right this time." The director crawled back into his chair and nodded. Megaphone man shouted, "Stand by, people. This is a take. Sound? Speed," came the answer. "Camera? Rolling." The man with the clapboard raced in. "58C, take 2, he said, clapping the board and disappearing again. "And action," the director yelled. This time, I kept my mouth shut. No way would I scream before Gertrude broke through the billboard. There was a bright flash of light behind the sign, just like there was supposed to be. "What was that?" the boy actor cried. "Don't worry," I reassured him. "That's just the special effects people. Remember, there's supposed to be a flash behind the billboard, and then—" "Cut!" Everyone was silent. Real silent. And everyone was staring at me. "What did I do now?" I croaked. "That's my line," the boy actor sneered. "What?" My heart was somewhere in my throat with a sneaking suspicion that I'd messed up again. "I'm supposed to say, 'What's that?'" the boy scoffed. "It's in the script." I threw a look over at the director. He was not smiling in a big way. Come to think of it, he was barely breathing, but he was glaring right at me. Hard. Real hard. "Sorry," I shrugged, giving him my famous McDougal the idiot grin, but he still wasn't smiling. Even harder. At last he spoke. His voice was flat and calm and even. Well, except for the slight quivering, which let you know he was about to explode. "Let's set it up and try again. Take 3. Once again, they all did their shouting routine. Sound, speed, camera, rolling, take 3, and action. Once again, there was a bright flash. "What's that?" the boy actor shouted. This time I kept my mouth shut. "Look out!" the girl cried as she pointed to the billboard. "Gertrude's hit the sign! It's falling!" The 2 actors sprinted out of the way, leaving me standing there all alone. I didn't remember that being in the script, but I wasn't about to move. No, sir. I learned my lesson. I stood there for the waiting for my cue to scream, waiting for Gertrude to crash through the sign. "Run!" the director shouted. "Get out of the way!" I just blinked at him. No way was I going to make the same mistake twice. That is, until a stuntman rushed in and tackled me to the ground and rolled us out of the way, just as the billboard crashed to the ground right where I was standing. I scrambled to my feet and cried, "What are you doing? That's not in the script." "Neither is that billboard falling," the stuntman chuckled as he got up and brushed himself off. Once the scare was over, it was all chuckles around. Everybody had a good laugh, except the director. I tell you, it felt kind of good hearing laughter again. It felt even better knowing I was the source of that laughter, kind of like being back at home or at school or anywhere else I ever went in my life. It took almost an hour for them to fix the billboard, and then we were ready for take 4. Everything went perfect. The kids gave their lines, I kept my mouth shut, and Gertrude's face crashed through the sign just like it was supposed to. It was a little scary having it come right at me, but I could see the man at the control panel off to the side. He pulled back the lever and Gertrude opened her mouth. He pushed another lever and she scooted toward me. Now it was time to scream. I took a deep breath and let loose. "Ah!" It was a little weak and a little hoarse, but no one noticed because suddenly there was that famous cut again. Only this time it didn't come from the director. Who shouted cut? The director bellowed. This is my movie and nobody says cut but me. Who said cut? I did, Chad whined from his convertible. I'm out of eye drops. Without my eye drops, my eyes will be all red and icky for the close-ups. The veins in the director's neck began pumping overtime. It looked like he was about to pop a vessel or two. I expected him to go into cardiac arrest at any second, or at least to let loose with the string of words, but neither happened. Instead, the director said just as softly as possible, which made it even scarier. Could someone please bring Mr. Steele his eye drops? Take 5. They patched up the billboard and started again. Everything went perfect. Gertrude crashed through again, and I screamed, ah! It was pretty pathetic, and my voice was definitely going, but no one cared. They had just wanted to get the scene done. Chad threw his car into gear and raced up to me when suddenly, you guessed it, cut. What is it now? The director's voice trembled in rage. My hair is all mussed, Laura complained. The winds mussed my hair. It was pretty obvious that Laura was lying. Her hair was in perfect shape. She just wanted to say cut because Chad had said cut. Suddenly, I felt like I was back in kindergarten again. I mean, these guys were supposed to be grown-ups, right? What next? Somebody yelling cut because they didn't have their teddy? Take 6. Ah! My scream was so faint you could barely hear it. But it didn't matter. Cut! This time we stopped because of Chad's makeup. It was almost noon, and the heat had made his tan, which was really lots and lots of brown body makeup, start to run. They hooked up a long hose to some inside air conditioner and ran it all the way out to Chad's car. Someone held it in front of him the whole time so he'd stay cool. Which wasn't very long because someone else suddenly shouted, lunch! Just like that, everybody turned and headed to the nearby tables that were set up. Looked like the director wanted to go on, but he still wanted to film, like he still had plenty of words ready for anyone who wanted to listen, but no one seemed in the mood. Everyone was too hot and tired and cranky. Later, as I stood in line for the food, I was beginning to think maybe movie making wasn't as much fun as everyone thought. Maybe it was actually a lot of hard work. Maybe it was actually a lot of long, boring, get used to people screaming, monotonous, boring, get used to people screaming, even more boring, hard work. Yes, sir, this movie-making stuff was about as glamorous as a bad case of athlete's foot. If the kids at school could see me now. Kids at school? Leaping lizards! I was supposed to get Melissa Sue a lock of Chad's hair. I was supposed to get Reptile Man in to see Gertrude. I was supposed to get Dad's boss in to see Laura. And what about Brock's girlfriend? I threw a look over at Chad. There were about a dozen people surrounding him as he headed off to his trailer. Somebody wanted to do his nails. Somebody wanted to touch up his makeup, his wardrobe, his eyes, and of course, his magnificent hair. No way could I get to him, and no way did I want to get to him. Then there was Laura, ditto with her surrounding crowd, and ditto times 2 with my desire to talk to her. Well, at least I could get Brock's girl, Reptile Man, and Dad's boss onto the set. All I had to do was ask the director if... What are those clouds doing up there? I looked over at the director. He was staring up at the sky. I can't have clouds in my shot. I want those clouds out of here, and I want them out of here now. But Bernie, the man with the megaphone tried to reason, we can't control the clouds. The weatherman said it was supposed to rain this afternoon. Rain? I can't have rain in my shot. Bernie, please. I don't want rain. Bernie, if you don't move those clouds, I won't shoot the scene today. Bernie, be reasonable. But Bernie wasn't reasonable. And a half hour later, I was in my limo heading to school. It was only 12:30 p.m., and they figured I could squeeze in half a day of classes. Believe it or not, I was looking forward to it. How nice it would be to be back at school with sane, normal people again. Or would it? And that's the end of Chapter 7. Chapter 8 will be The Plot Sickens. We'll have to see what that is on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.